Welcome back. In this video, we're going to add in authorization to the comment routes that we just added in. So edit, update, and destroy. We only want a user to be able to actually edit or update something if that user owns the comment, just like we did for campgrounds. We'll achieve that with basically the same code where we have a middleware. I think we called ours check campground ownership, but ours will be called check comment ownership. And then we also want to make sure that we hide and show those buttons so that we don't show a user a delete button that they actually can't click or they don't have permission to delete that comment, which is also basically the same code that we used for comments or for campgrounds. And then lastly, and this is the only thing that's really new, is that I want us to refactor our middleware. So we'll basically just move all of our middleware out into a new file and require that file. We'll begin by making sure that a user can't get to the edit route if he or she doesn't own that comment. So let's go to the route inside of our comments here, and let's go to edit. We want a middleware here that will do the checking for us. So check comment ownership, just like we did in the last video, or in the last campground video, where we did check campground ownership. And if we take a look at that code, I'm going to just copy the whole thing over. It's kind of long. Put it at the bottom with our other middleware. We'll change that name, check comment ownership. The first thing we do is check, is the user logged in? Is any user logged in? If not, just redirect them back. And we'll show a message eventually that says, please sign in. Or you have to be signed in to do that. And that's a different error than you not being the correct owner. So we don't want to just say you don't have permission to do that always. We want to say sign in first. And then if you do sign in and you still don't own it, then we'll send a different message. For now, it doesn't matter because we don't have those messages. So if you are signed in, we need to find the comment. Comment.findById. It's not request.params.id. Request.params.comment.id. Change this to be found comment. If there's an error, redirect back, that's fine. Else, let's change our comment to make it a little clearer. And I keep saying comment, I mean change the JavaScript comment, not the actual comment model. Then we need to check if the found comment.author.id equals request.user.id. So let's take a look again at the model for comments. Remember, we have an author, and that author has an ID, and it's a mongoose ID, so we can't do triple equals, just like with campground. So if found comment.author.id equals, that special method, we're comparing it to the logged in user's ID, which is stored inside request.user thanks to Passport. So if that's the case, everything is good, which means we can move on and run the route handler next. Otherwise, redirect back. And again, the reason I've separated all of these out, even though it's res.redirect back 3 different times, is so that we can specify a different error message once we get to that in just a few videos from now. So let's now make sure everything else is good. Check comment ownership. We have that up here. We need to go to edit route. We added that in. Check comment ownership. Great. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Good. So everyone should be able to get here. I'm not logged in right now, so if I click edit, it takes me back here. Perfect. Now if I do log in as Sirius Black, who created that comment, and I try that again, edit, it now works. Let's just add some extra stuff in here. Now that's not protected because that's the update route. So we actually just do the exact same thing, which is why it's so nice that we moved it into a separate function, because we could just have all of that code right here and then duplicate it back for update as well, right here, and for destroy. But let's just leave it at that for now. Make sure that it works. So theoretically, I could somehow end up sending an update request from Postman or something like that from some other app however, a user would do that, which it'd be very rare, but theoretically someone could do that, and without adding the check comment ownership to update, it wouldn't be protected. But we won't notice anything different here. If I try and edit, same problem. If I log back in, and you can just skip through this if you don't really care to see it. Not the most exciting part of this course, watching me log in. Now if I edit, update works fine. And if I had signed out at that point, or if my data was wrong or something weird happened, it would then redirect me back and eventually show a message. Okay, so that's update. Now if I do click on delete when I'm not signed in, I can delete that comment, which is obviously not what we want to happen. So let's fix that. Let's go to a page that does have comments. Oh, this one doesn't have one. Let me add a comment in. Once again, not the most exciting. Oh, and I typed the comment or the password in incorrectly. Oh dear. Let's try that one more time. Okay. Let's go to Rocky Mountain High, add a comment in, delete me. Okay. So I don't want a user to be able to delete this unless they're logged in. It's exactly the same. Super easy for us. Just find the destroy route, add our middleware in, and that's all we need. So if we try it, I just showed you that currently, or before we made that change, anyone can delete. Now if I refresh, I'm not logged in. I click delete, and it's still there. Refuses to delete. Great. Last big step is showing and hiding these buttons appropriately. So let me sign in or sign up as someone else. Let's sign up as Dumbledore. Dumbledore. Password is also password. Sign up. Let's add a comment in as well. Now, 2 different comments, 2 different authors. If I'm signed in as Dumbledore, I only want to see the delete buttons here. These should be hidden for me. So to do that, take a look at how we did it on the show page for campground delete and edit buttons, which is right here. This single line, if current user and campground.author.id equals current user.id, then we show this. Very, very similar, except for a few changes. First of which is it's not campground.author.id. It's comments.author. And that's defined here in our for each. So whatever this is, in our case, for each campground's comments array, call it comment, display the author, display the text, and then check if there's a current user and if that current user's ID, which is here, which is stored. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but I will review this briefly. This is coming from that one line that we added to app.js up top that adds in, where are you? Right here. Current user to every single one of our templates. Current user equals request.user. And request.user is coming from Passport. It has the user information. So current user, if there is one, we have to do that. Check if there is one, because if we don't have this first part and all we have is this, if there is no current user, it will give us an error saying current user is undefined. Okay, so comment.author.id. The last thing we need is to add in our closing bracket or a curly brace for the if statement. No equal sign. So this is all enclosed in that if statement. Let's give it a shot. To start, if I refresh, it will log me out, and we expect to see no buttons. Perfect. Let's sign in. We'll do Dumbledore. Go back to Rocky Mountain High, and we only see those buttons. Perfect. Make sure this still works. Looks good. Let's delete. Also looks good. Now let's sign in as Sirius Black. now we expect to see the buttons. And we do. Perfect. And I can also delete this now. Let's delete it. Great. I won't delete that campground because campgrounds are precious and we need those. It takes a while to add a new one back in.